as DC looked for a leveler. This ball played in, Westberg couldn't get there, it drops down, and DC had the leveling goal. Griffin Yow with the goal inside the final 3 minutes, and Ben Olsen's side are level late.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, RFK Refugees podcast, a special edition of the RFK Refugees podcast. We are joined today by the man, the myth, the legend, Griffin Yow. Griffin, welcome to the show. I'm calling you a legend already, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. One for the high praise, and two for having me on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to the show. I guess let's.
I think we picked quite the week here. I think this is Griffin Yow is the stock. The Griffin Yow stock is all-time highs right now.
You timed it perfectly.
We did. Ted, you get us started. Ted,
get us started. Let's start with that goal. An incredible moment, tying goal. Paul Arriola was like the most hyped man in the stadium for you on that, which was cool to see. But take us through that goal. What did you see in the game? Where, like, what were your thoughts? What was going through your head? My answer might not be not much. I was just trying to make a play, but
yeah, definitely. I mean, it was we were obviously down 2-1 at the time, so I was kind of looking for a goal, and I saw the ball come in, and I didn't really notice much, except I saw the keeper was out, a little bit farther than he would probably like to be when the ball was headed back out. So there was really only one choice, was to hit it in one touch. If I took another touch there, I think shot probably would have been closed down. So I was really, really lucky enough to, make that good of contact. And it just fell perfectly, to be honest.
you got your first. I think that was your longest stretch so far. You got a full 45 minutes.
Yeah, it really was.
What was it like to actually get into the game a little bit, sort of feel the flow of the game? I'm sure that's a lot easier than coming in for 10 minutes and just trying to make something happen.
For sure. I mean, exactly what you just said. I was super, super happy because that was, one of the longest stretches. I think the only other one, I came in at halftime for the Philly game. And that was a good one too. But this one, it was, super. Toronto's one of the, the best teams in the league, to be honest, especially right now. And so to come in at halftime, I was honestly just really excited to make an impact. And that definitely, like you said, being able to get into the game a little bit more, get my touches, get comfortable, and not, be rushed in the last, 80th minute, 85th minute. It was a lot better.
Go ahead. So let's take a step back. So I think everybody, I hope, I don't know if goal of the week is already done. Is it already been voted on? If it hasn't been,
I'm not sure. I haven't checked.
If it isn't done and you're listening to this somehow and haven't voted yet, you should vote for it. Vote for Griffin. Also, if you can figure out how to do whatever vote stuffing magic Montreal and Seattle have done over the years, this show is we're not against voter tampering in this particular
needed.
So let's talk about the more general, your whole experience here. Let's talk about last year. I think you got some good opportunities at some points last year. You got to start on the road. And then sort of things just sort of, I don't know, they tapered off, but the number of opportunities sort of decreases as the year went along. Talk about what that was like your first year as a pro, getting sort of those opportunities, and sort of just, was it frustrating to have things went down, or is it something else that we don't, the fans don't know necessarily?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, definitely it was frustrating for me. Like you said, there was a point after, I think, the FC Dallas game where I wasn't really in the roster, because we had, I was normally just kind of playing Loudon games. And that was one, because obviously, that team was super full at the time. We had, not really that many injuries. Everyone was healthy, Wayne, we had everyone. So the roster opportunities were, for a young player, super small. And also the World Cup was coming up at the end of that year. So I eventually ended up just being with Loudon to kind of get minutes and, have some game experience, some real game experience, so I could be ready for the World Cup. But yeah, like you said, there was definitely, a ton of struggles, and it definitely taught me as a player, to really just grind through the ups and downs. It was that period of not playing. It was really just a growing period for me. And yeah, it feels really good. I wouldn't even say I'm out the other side because I'm still, growing, learning and developing, but I feel like I'm in a really good place right now.
And just to quickly follow up on that. So this show always talks about, and Ted and I talk about it all the time, about young players sitting on the bench for DC United instead of playing with Loudoun. Sort of the value of being in the 18, traveling, practicing all week, and then maybe not playing versus every week playing, as close to 90 minutes as possible for Loudoun. Yeah. Obviously the levels are different, right? The professional environment's different than the USL level. No slight to USL, no slight to Coach Martin, but sort of settle that for us as a young player who's developing. Where do you find your biggest value out of those two options?
I think, like you said, I mean, no, disrespect to the USL League or all at any of the coaches, Coach Ryan for sure. I mean, that's a super high level, but when you get to the MLS, and I'm sure Coach Ryan can even vouch for this himself, it's just a completely different breed at the MLS level. And that's training, that's games, that's, the all around environment, the everything that you're in a day-to-day basis is so much, more intense, more professional, to be completely honest with you. So I didn't love when I would have to train with Loudoun, but I mean, obviously there were times where I would be, it would be, I can't train with DC all week and then just hop into the game. I'm going to have to do, 2 days with DC, 2 days with Loudoun, so I can be comfortable with that team. But just because it's not that I didn't like it with Loudoun, it's just really what I just said. The level was just completely different at DC. And for the games aspect, that's kind of the same as well. And for me at the time, it was probably better for me to be playing with Loudoun because, those games were super, super intense. I may not have had the right mindset. I may not have been, prepared as a player at that time, but that was kind of all part of the growing period. And I think both kind of combined to give me a really good experience.
So what you're saying, Griffin, is that training with Wayne Rooney is a step up from training with Gordon Wild. I will not take that Gordon Wild slander.
Yeah, the trainings with Wayne and with Lucha, that level was just ridiculous. When you have everyone there and everyone is going, it's really just another level.
I think the way they used to do loans, Ted, with Richmond, I think they used to train all week with DC, and then they would come down just for game days to play with Richmond back when they used to do that. So, it never went well. I
can't imagine.
I don't know he's enjoyed it, but
I can't imagine.
There was, let me tell you, Griffin, there were some players that when I would watch that came down. There were some guys that were into it. Chris Durkin, I think, grew up here, so it was a little bit different. But there were guys that clearly. I can't even remember the guy's name right now, but there's one guy who came down here and looked like he was just blowing past players and scoring a bunch of goals and looked the most miserable I'd ever seen a player who scored goals. So
yeah, anybody's name. We didn't know anybody.
Kyle Porter. That was Kyle Porter. It just came to me. Griffin, I wonder if you could talk. Was there anything you talked about the intensity of training and everything like that? I'm sure maybe those were things you expected, but I mean, was there anything that sort of surprised you? Making that step up from, or any moment they, oh man, I'm not in my youth teams anymore. This is the real deal, and I'm being held to a higher standard. Was there anything that surprised you?
I think it did surprise me, and it took me a little while to realize that it was just a different level, because honestly it was more about just the standards that they hold you to each day, to be honest. The way that you come into training, the way, you're on time every single day, and they're all, keeping super, super clean notice of that. Your cleats are clean every day. It's just the little small details off the field. You're in the weight room every day after the training session. The trainer doesn't have to tell you, come into the weight room. You're already in there by yourself. It's just those things that, for me personally, it took me a little while to pick up on, just because I had some, kiddish academy tendencies that I was still, trying to do at the first team level, and it really just wasn't working.
We've speaking of the academy, we had a question from a listener, Angus. He wanted to know what that experience was like playing in the academy and going through that process. I think that, like the super fans, people who listen to this show, people who have spend their time listening to us talk about the team, they would love to like really get an opportunity to see those games, to know what that's like, so that they can, going up the levels, they know who to look out for, and they know sort of they build that relationship with the players. But like, what was that like? Obviously, you've gotten to see that, you've gotten to see Loudon, you've gotten to see DC. So a gradual level of professionalism increasing. But what was that process like for you going up those levels?
I mean, the academy, I can say nothing but positives for the academy. It was honestly one of the best experiences so far I've had in my soccer career, especially with DC Academy. I mean, they just right from the beginning kind of make you feel at home and make you feel comfortable. And with that being said, it's a lot more of I wouldn't say fun, but just like they're less focused on some of those things that I was just talking about. So you're able to let free and be a little bit more loose and carefree. So it's just honestly a great experience. You're just having fun, hanging out with your teammates, and it's the big difference is, on academy, on away trips, you can go, you're playing the games and the coaches are watching you then and you're training, but then after, you're in each other's rooms, you're playing games, you're eating junk food, you're doing whatever like that. And that's fun at the time.
Right.
And then, but if you try and carry that over into even, Loudon, even DC, both of those, it won't slide. It won't slide at all.
It makes sense for the age group, right? I think that if they had you as regimented as they have the pros, as far as like lights out at this time, and
yeah,
I think there'd be some rebellion. I think kids.
Oh yeah, big time, big time.
I wonder if you could talk, obviously in the United States, this idea of, number one, professional teams having developmental academies, a lot of other sports, that's on the colleges to sort of do that. And, even when you're playing youth sports, if you play well enough, the idea is you go to college. The concept sort of in America for U.S. soccer, trying to adapt the rest of the world's model. I guess, when Dave sort of offers you, that contract, I'm assuming it was Dave, it may have been, somebody else, say, hey, we think you're good enough, we think you can play. Was it like a immediate decision? Yes, I'm going to do this. Or was it let's think about it? Because I'm sure maybe your parents, when you're out there playing for the DC Academy, maybe they're thinking, hey, maybe you're good enough, but they're also thinking, college scholarships, a lot of those things. So what was that sort of decision process like? Was it immediate, or was it, maybe you had to think about it a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you right now, it definitely wasn't immediate at all. It took a lot of time, because there was, at the time that the contract was offered, I was kind of, I don't mean to say this in a cocky way at all. I was kind of taking off. I was on an uprise with the national team, and that was kind of bringing me a lot of attention from international, MLS, just a lot of attention. So we were trying to figure out if I was going to go, maybe overseas, if I was going to not, sign with DC, if I was going to sign with a club overseas and try over there, or if I was, like you said, going to just really pursue college opportunities and get an education. And that was a very, very big option, and a very important factor in deciding, but it did take a little bit of time. I think my parents were more, holding back and more, thinking about it than me, because at the time I was just like, oh, I just got offered a professional contract. Let's done deal. I want to sign with Adidas. Let's do everything. It's done. And, my parents were a little bit more like, let's really think this through. And so that kind of, made the time a little bit longer, but I also had some time to think it through and think it over and make the right decision.
You were 16 when you signed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's a 16-year-old in the universe that would be like, you know what, we should really think this over. Yeah, so I think that was probably good. Your parents were the angel on your shoulder on that. A follow-up question on that, sort of to go along with that, is from listener Evan Gregory, who I think has a birthday this week.
My birthday's coming up as well.
Oh, there you go. What are your long-term aspirations as far as like playing overseas? A lot of players, that's like their lifetime goal. They're driving through that. MLS is a stepping stone. Granted, you're very early on in your career. You're starting to try to ground yourself here and get some exposure. What's your 10-year plan?
My honest plan in my career is I want to win the Champions League, not just play in it. I want to win the Champions League. So whatever team in Europe is in the Champions League at the time, whatever high level team, that is my ultimate goal. Whatever stepping stone I need to do to make it there, that's my ultimate goal for right now. So.
Well, with Juventus now, I think we've actually got an opportunity so that we might have an American do that here pretty soon. So it's fun to watch for.
Yes,
great to see you serving a ball to Sadio Mane or Mohamed Salah.
Need that.
Salah might be walking around a little bit with maybe like with a walker.
Yeah, with a cane.
Yeah. So sort of along those lines, knowing you don't have anything to compare this to because DC is your first club, but what's it like to play for your hometown team where in a normal non-pandemic universe, all of your friends and family can come to any game, anytime you play? And then also as an aside, like how hard is it to get tickets for anybody that wants to come? I assume that you have a list of, particularly because you're young, so you've got a lot of like peers that are like, sure, yeah, I'll come to the game. Yeah. Griffin, get me in.
Yeah. It definitely, I mean, it got to the point where we had like a limited ticket amount that we could have per player.
I bet.
So because the games were filling up pretty good, and so that did get a little bit difficult. But can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep.
Oh, it was cutting out.
Yep, we got you clear.
Could you repeat the first part?
Yeah, sure. Just again, because this is the team you played for. What is it like to play in the city or around the city where you grew up, and with the team that I assume you watched and maybe followed as a younger kid?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's anything I could ever ask for as a kid, to be honest, because I do have some friends that are over in Europe right now, playing, and I can see the struggles that they're going through, with being away from friends, being away from family. And it's really, really difficult, honestly, being away from their girlfriend. It's mentally super, super challenging, especially at a young age. So to be able to, be here, and although there are some struggles, not being able to play over there, not getting, the exposure and whatever you want to say about European soccer. I mean, I being able to come home to my family every day and be comfortable and, deal with the problems and really grieve with them it's super, super helpful, man.
I guess one of the question, sort of back to the goal and how excited Paul Arriola is. I guess one thing that kind of struck me is, and I guess you would expect a lot of other players to support your teammates and everything, but what I found kind of interesting about that moment is that's a player you're almost competing against a little bit, because he plays basically. I know Ben likes to move him down to the right side, but I mean, what does it mean for a guy who's you're out there, if coach gives you, the starting job over him, you're happy. So you're competing against Paul when he's out there. What does it mean to have him just so amped for you when you score? You were pointing to him, I assume. Right?
Yes, definitely. He was already in the corner of the stadium by the corner flag before I could even get there. And he was sitting right above our bench. It was ridiculous. But honestly, having I've never looked at, and I don't think he has either. I've never really looked at him as, of course I look at him as competition in a way, because I look at everyone as competition. I'm always trying to get that starting spot and get to my max potential. But for him, it's always been, super, super friendly, super, super nice. He's been the one guy from the very beginning that's always, helped me out when I'm down, realized when I am down, realized, the struggles that I might be going through, because, he was in my position at one time in Tijuana, going through the same thing. So he can relate to that a lot, and also relate to the national team as well. He grew up playing for the youth national team, and obviously he's killing it with the men's national team now. But yeah, we can just really relate on a lot of levels also, outside of soccer. So he's been a great mentor, a great friend. And that was a great moment. I think he might've been more hyped than me. I can't even tell.
It was close.
What is this team missing on the field without him? this season. I think it's major. What do you think?
Yes, the energy that Paul brings is unmatched, to be completely honest. The way that his motor from the beginning of the game, the first 10 minutes where you see him flying around, pressing guys, is the exact same you see from the 80th minute, the 90th minute, extra time. He's going because he just has this desire, this passion, and this work. He always tells me, we may not be blessed. Pipa, for example, is he's got this natural thing where he's just able to, Messi is natural. How people say you can't teach what Messi has. He always tries to kind of tell me, you can teach hard work and you can teach that energy and you can always have that. And that's what I think sets him different from everyone else, to be honest. He always has that.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. There's as a fan, if there's a player in the 85th minute running back across the field to make a play in defense, even when we're down or when we're up, it's usually him. And that's a player that you definitely notice when he isn't on the field.
Big time.
Let's talk. We're wrapping up here, but let's talk about this year. So I think that I can't imagine a more challenging year as far as the starts and the stops and the injuries as of late. I think that there's been, the offense has been. I think all parts of the game have had different periods of struggle. The defense was eluding the team early on in the year. The offense sort of went AWOL here in the restart. I think in the last couple of games we've seen some progress there. I think we're going to get some players back. We'll actually have a full complement of players here pretty soon, hopefully, or a near complement.
Yeah.
What being in the room and being there with the team, like what do you see as the what are fans not noticing as far as we see the end results and we see the trouble scoring or the trouble shooting in some of the games.
Yeah.
What are we missing?
I think there's a lot of personal things that guys are going through right now. I'm not sure if you hear with the media with obviously Bill was out for a couple of games with just some personal reasons, and that's everyone is dealing with their own personal things that obviously the fans don't see, but also during this time, what they also don't see is us growing. And although there are, I see guys down and I see guys, like you said, some of the defense, some of the midfield, the offense, the whole team has gone through struggles this year. But each time that they've gone through struggles, I've seen them grow and I've seen them, get out of it. Like you said, the defense was, a little bit sketch during the bubble, but now you see they look solid. They look super solid. You can see that they've been working on it. They've been growing, and that's the same with every part of our team: goalkeeper, defense, offense, midfield. Each time that we fall, DC United kind of has this character that we can come back and grow and really learn.
You mentioned Bill. I got to say that nothing it's kind of amazing how tight of a locker room you guys have. Not that we were asking, but it's impressive that you guys are able to keep those things to yourself, and that's been the case really for as long as Ben has been the coach.
Oh yeah,
you guys have a very tight locker room.
Definitely,
not a lot of
because when it's personal like that, it's just you don't really know what they're going through. It's not really you just got to respect them. It's not really your point to speak on it.
Yep, absolutely. Last question from me. How excited are you to commute to Loudoun next year for practice at the new training facility, whenever that actually gets built? I have to admit, we asked Ben a long time ago, are you moving? Are you going to drive from DC?
I have no idea on the status of that or any type of update. I hope it gets built. I hope it's almost done being built. I really have no idea. That would be great though, because it's an hour 10 in the morning every day, hour 10 back. It's not good. Loudon is kind of right there. So.
Oh, so you live out that way?
Yeah, I live Northern Virginia, like Fairfax area, Centerville.
Well, so you might be one of the few players that's actually jazzed about that.
Yeah, I need that. I really need that.
all the DC guys are like, we'll get.
Oh yeah, the DC guys hate it.
Yeah, they don't mind going over to Arlington for the St. James, whatever. But Yeah, I was just curious. If that were me, I mean, that's like my commute back when I used to go to the office. So I would empathize for anybody who has to make that trip. But
Yeah.
it would be nice to have your own place, though. I would assume.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, Griffin. Well, I think that's all we got for you today. Best of luck tomorrow. Get some rest. You gotta drive out, go out to the Music City.
Sir.
So definitely best of luck to you at that game.
Yep.
Keep everybody
Get
as healthy as
three.
you can, please. We need
Yep.
no injuries, nothing heading up into Wednesday. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Let's get a big 3 tomorrow.
Yeah, big 3 points. That's what we want. All right. Thank you all so much for listening. It's been Griffin Yow, and we will catch you guys next week. Vamos.
Almost.